everybody, it's Amy from Winterwood Studio, and today I thought that I could give you a little tour of all my watercolor supplies and show you my favorite products and give you some tips and tricks, and we could swatch my Daniel Smith watercolor palette, that the colors that I've been putting together over the last 5 years, and I could show you my absolute favorites, and we could talk a little bit about lightfastness and why it's important. So come on in and let's chat for a while. Okay, so I thought we could start by looking at my current palette of watercolors that I use and just swatching them for a little bit while we talk. These are the colors I like. These are all Daniel Smith, which is the paint that watercolor paint that I arrived at after some trial and error, and I will actually go through and show you the beginning set that I started with and then the medium set I went to after that before going to these. Those are good options for beginners and intermediate artists. You don't have to immediately drop a ton of money on Daniel Smith paints. They are pretty expensive. There are other paints that you can use. You don't have to just use these, but these are my preferred paints and the ones that I like to use. So we're just swatching for fun, and I thought we could talk, or maybe I'll put some music in, I don't know. But I'm gonna have a list of all these paints down below, and you're more than welcome to recreate my palette. These are my most favorite colors. And while we're swatching, I thought I would share some exciting news. Well, exciting for me. My husband, who you will get to meet in the video on Friday, said that if I could manage to earn $30,000, he would build me my very own private art studio on the edge of our property in the woods here for me, which would be just awesome. I live in a house with all boys. It's him and my 2 boys, so it's all men, and things get broken, and people are always throwing balls in the house, even though we're saying not to. And it would just be really nice to have my own quiet sanctuary place to go to do my artwork and film my studio, or film my YouTube videos. And so I'm going to ask a favor. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, I sure would appreciate it if you would. I'm pretty close to being able to monetize on YouTube. I'm at, I think, 850 subscribers right now, and I think 2,000 hours of watch time. So I'm about halfway there with the watch time. You have to have 4,000 hours of watch time to start earning money from the ad program. And you have to have 1,000 subscribers to earn money. So this is one of my favorite colors right here. This is the Quinacridone Gold. Sometimes I'll do underpaintings for my pastels with that. I love that color. But anyway, it would be so much fun if I got some, I know 30,000 is a lot of money, but if I did get there, he could buy the supplies and build it for me, and I could do like polls, and you guys could help me design it and decide what color to paint it and decide where to put things in it, and it would be so much fun. We could just build it from scratch together, and I'd have videos where you could see it being built. This is another one of my favorites. This is the Payne's Gray. This is a really beautiful color. I'm just doing this on a little Fabriano hot press watercolor paper. It's pretty inexpensive. I'll show you some of my other supplies after we finish swatching. This is also another one of my colors I really like. This is the Perlyne green. I like it so much I accidentally bought it twice. Oh, you can't see it. Slide that down there. That's the Perlyne green there. I'll try to make sure I fit everything in here. So yeah, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, it sure would make me happy if I could at least get to 1,000 subscribers so I could start earning some ad revenue. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, like selling my art wise, if I want to try to set up a shop or not. I've dreamed about having my own art studio pretty much all my life, and I sort of have a little private place here on the side of our house. This was, I think, a porch at one time, and someone before us framed it in and insulated it and made it into a long, skinny room. And this is the Lunar Blue. This is another just gorgeous color. I love that one. I use that one a lot. So it's nice to have my own space here, but it's very small and there's not much storage, and I worry about, you know, I keep little Miss Farita in here, which I think you met in one of my videos. So I don't ever want to do oil paint. I never use any of the solvents up here. I have to go down in the basement if I'm going to use odorless mineral spirits or anything like that, because I just worry about it too much. This is the Fuchsite green. This is one of their, I think they're called Real Tech maybe. It's made with like real gemstones. This has a really pretty shimmery iridescent finish when it dries. Yeah, so I go in the basement if I'm going to use any solvents. Oops. And he said if he was going to build me a studio, he'd make sure it had like the proper air filtration and a HEPA filter and everything, so that would be nice. And I am so grateful for everybody who has followed and liked and commented already. This has been just so wonderful. It's just a little over a month now since I put my first real long video up on YouTube and committed to really posting, you know, every week, multiple times a week, and it has been just such a wonderful experience. Everybody has been so welcoming and so supportive and so kind, and it has really meant the world to me. And I feel like I'm gonna cry. I never expected everybody to be so kind. If I'd known people were gonna be so kind, I would have maybe tried to start sooner. This is another beautiful color. This is the Quinacridone Burnt Orange, I think. So I think every one of these colors is a 1, except for the Hansa yellow, which came in one of the first sets I got, and that is a 2. So it's still got a pretty good light fastness. This is Moonglow. This is another one I use a lot. Those are all my Daniel Smith colors, and they are my absolute favorite watercolors to use. I love how they respond on the paper. They're my favorite. So now that we've swatched those, I am going to show you some of my other supplies and also the watercolors that I would recommend for beginner and intermediate artists. So let me put this away and I'll be right back. I got serious about watercoloring 4 or 5 years ago, and the first set of paints I bought when I did was this one from Shinhan Professional Watercolor. I don't know, I think that's how you say it. And these are the colors that came in that set. And they were good for learning. But the reason, so I didn't stick with them for very long because, so they have the Lightfast rating right on the tube. This is a 3. Do they have a guide on here? I don't think this one did. So it has the Lightfast rating on here, but it doesn't tell you what that, so this is Lightfast of 2, 3, two light fast ratings on them. They're good for just if you're just starting out. If you're doing pieces that you want to save, I don't recommend these. Although I do, like I said, they're an inexpensive way to learn watercolor. So that's what I started with. And then the next set of watercolors that I went to was this. These are the Mission Gold class watercolors. And these were a step up, I think, both in price and quality. They have some nice little pamphlets with some info in here. And it does say the finest quality pigments with superior light fastness. And it does, again, have the ratings on the tube. So this is a 5. And so the light fastness is a 5, and it does have the semi-transparent and the semi-staining rating on these, which is good to have. But again, we're getting into, so like for example, this one is only a 2 for light fastness. 2, so again, a 2. And so you know, like these two are going to be pretty fugitive, but you don't know exactly how long they're going to last. So then the next watercolor set that I went to, and I have these are my everyday watercolors now. And this is my palette. Oh, it's a little dirty. And these are all Daniel Smith watercolors. For these, I picked my own colors. So I think everything on mine is a light fastness of a 1. I think there's one that might be a 2. And here, I'll show you what I mean by that here. So when I get art supplies, I swatch them all. And this is my little booklet of swatches. Copics, Caran d'Ache, here they are. So these are my Daniel Smith watercolors. And this is just a chart that I printed off the internet. The colors aren't super representative, but they're pretty good. This was from the actual Daniel Smith website. So like on here, it says that they have the ASTM Light Fast rating, which is the only really recognized light fast rating is the ASTM 1. And if it's rated a 1, that means that the color is going to last for 100+ years. If it's rated a 2, then that's considered very good. And it says 100 years. A 3 is a fair, which is 50 to 70 years. The 4 is fugitive, which is 15 to 20 years. And then Daniel Smith doesn't do anything under the 4. Okay, and as long as we're talking about light fastness, I want to show why that's important. So, this book right here is a really good reference book to have if you're an artist. And I just marked the page here. This is Color and Light, a guide for the realist painter by James Gurney. And there's a section here on light fastness, and he's swatched some things here for people to see, and then he put it in his window for I think a year facing south. So here are the Caran d'Ache Super Color 2 colored pencils, and you can see the fading in 1 year in this blue here. This right here is why, even though I love using Copic markers, I don't use them very often. These are the Prismacolor art markers, but the Copic markers, all art markers do this. Any alcohol-based marker will be like this after 1 year. I'm sure that there are some colors that last longer than others, but for the most part, marker fades. And also, like Sharpies, these are the Sharpies. This is a Pilot Precise, a Bic Ultra Round. Those will fade as well in direct sunlight. Let's see, these are his samples from the Carbazole pastel pencils, which I love to use. These are his samples from the Lucas 1862 oil colors. This was just the Sharpie highlighters. These are the Dr. Martin's dyes, and these are some fountain pen inks that he tested. So his recommendation is to buy paints that have the ASTM ratings of a 2 or a 1. If they don't show ratings, assume they're not light fast. Keep art in a dark place such as a drawer or a dark hallway if not framed. 3, use UV filtered glass, and 4, don't hang in direct sunlight. So those are ways to minimize the fading. The thing with like markers and some colors that are considered fugitive, some of them will change color and fade even if they're not exposed to sunlight over time. Especially with the markers, they will fade. So, you know, it's a personal choice. If you're making stuff that you primarily intend to sell as prints, or if you're just learning or practicing, I mean, it's not really something you have to be worried about. But when you paint something that you're really proud of and you realize, oops, I used some paints that are gonna fade in 15 years, I couldn't sell something like that. I'd feel not okay with myself if I did that. So, like I said, it's a personal choice that everybody needs to make, but that is why I wanted to talk about Lightfastness. Okay, so now that we've looked at the paints and talked about Lightfastness, I'm gonna show you some of my papers and my other supplies. So this paper right here is great for experimenting and practicing. It's very inexpensive. It was like 50 sheets for, I wanna say, not a whole lot. Like 20 maybe, 30, I don't know. I got it at Blick Art Materials. It's also great for colored pencil, and if you're doing colored pencil with solvents especially, and I'm gonna be trying my oil pastels on here too at some point, I think. But it's pretty thick. It's 140 pounds. It's hot pressed, so there's not a ton of texture. But I don't always like a lot of texture. So then that moves us on to the next papers. And my absolute favorite paper is Arches. And I use both the hot press and the cold press depending on what I'm going for. They're both the 140 pound. These are pads. This is the 12 sheet pad. There's a 20 sheet pad. I also have blocks that are bigger, and then I have also some of the really big full sheet pads are like 22 inches by, not pads, I mean just individual sheets. They're like 22 inches by something, and that's another good way to try this if you want to try the Arches paper, because you can cut it into whatever size you want, and you know, you can practice on it that way. So those are my two favorite papers. And then I like to use these porcelain butcher trays for palettes, along what, as you saw, my little travel kit of my Daniel Smiths. Often I run out of room. So I like to have some of these for using as a palette as well. I like porcelain or ceramic because the paint doesn't beat up on it like it does with plastic. So that's why I choose those surfaces. And then, let's see, what else have I gotten here? Okay. Then I have the Daniel Smith watercolor ground. I have it in white and transparent. I like to use these. You can, like if you say have like a wood slice and you want to make an ornament, you can paint it with the watercolor ground and then paint watercolor on top of it. I also like to use these watercolor grounds to stick down my gold and copper sheet, and I think I might have some silver in here. No, I think it's maybe just gold and copper. And this is a trick that I learned from Stephanie Law, who is a wonderful watercolor artist and one of my favorites. I wrote that so you can see the gold leaf there. And I will link Stephanie Law's YouTube channel as well, because she has some wonderful tips for using these, and that's where I learned it. I've been trying to find some good masking fluid. I've used this incredible white mask liquid frisket. I wasn't super happy with it. I did feel like it pulled on my paper a little too much. I just ordered, if I can find it, I just ordered the Daniel Smith masking fluid with applicator. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm hoping it works a little bit better than this. This is not my favorite. And then for travel water brushes, I like these Arteza ones. These work pretty well, they don't leak. The only thing is, I think the threads are the opposite on these, if I remember. I remember being really frustrated because I couldn't get it open, and I think the threads are opposite than what they normally are. One of these has the Mission Golds in it. I think it's this one, yeah. These are the Mission Golds, and I take that outside for painting outside when I go. Fits right in my little pocket. I'll throw that in my pocket along with a couple of these filled with water and some paper towel, and I'm good to go. I really like this Masters brush cleaner and preserver. I use that with all my brushes, not just for watercolor, but all of them. And then as far as brushes go, I have a few more expensive brushes, but most of them are from Amazon or Dick Blick. This set here is well used and loved, and it was one of the first ones I bought. This one with the non-shiny handles, I think. One of the first ones I bought, and I really love these. I'll link them below. I don't think they're on Amazon anymore. I tried to order them again, and I got these ones with the shiny handles instead, I think. That's not it. Yeah, so I could tell right away they weren't the same, and they didn't have the writing on them. They weren't the same. And I don't think I like those as much. I've got a couple of the black velvet, the silver black velvet, or I'm not super impressed with them. I don't think they're worth the money. At least the ones I got weren't. I just generally the golden Taklon, cheap. I mean, not so cheap that you have bristles falling out and they won't stay in a point, but you know, the golden Taklon cheaper sets. This is another one of the silver black velvet. But I mostly just use, these are the Transin. I don't think I've tried these ones yet. I'm always on the hunt for good inexpensive brushes. And then I think I have some Royal and Land Nickel. I think I've bought a few from Blick that are mixed in. I think those are the ones with the greener like this. But in general, I don't pay a lot for my brushes. So I have a lot of them, but they weren't super expensive. I think these black handled sets were like $18 a set or something, maybe 20. And I've been happy with them. So I will link those all down below too as well. So those are all my favorite watercolor supplies. Oh, I didn't show you any of my inks or dip pens or fine liners that I use with the watercolors. I guess I'll have to save that for another video. Anyway, thanks for being here with me today, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and like I said in the video. If I ever manage to earn $30,000, my husband will build a new art studio for me here on the edge of our woods, and you guys could obviously come along for the ride, and I'd film everything, and you could help me make decisions and decide like where to put stuff and what to paint it and where the window should be. So if you'd like to do that with me, please help me get to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize and maybe earn some money. That would be so exciting. Anyway, thanks for being here with me today, and I hope you enjoyed seeing my watercolor supplies. And until next time, happy creating.